A famous quote states that a picture tells 1,000 stories. Some of these stories have emotional value, but the pictures you are about to see speak of dark events, even though they look pretty much like everyday pictures. Number 1. Our first picture shows two women, Selena Quintanilla and Yolanda Saldivar. Both of the women look friendly in this picture, but a few years later, one of the women would be responsible for the death of the other. In the late 20th century, Selena Quintanilla was a famous American Tejano singer. She was so accomplished that even in her early 20s, she was named the Queen of Tejano music. In 2020, Billboard magazine ranked her third of the greatest Latino artists of all time, based on both Latin albums and Latin song charts. Selena made her debut on the music scene as a member of Selena and Los Dinos. The band also consisted of her elder siblings AB and Suzette Quintanilla. Selena's fame grew in 1987 after she won the Tejano Music Award for Female Vocalist of the Year. She went on to win this award 9 consecutive times. She won a Grammy in 1994 in the category of Best Mexican American Album. She is the first female recording Tejano artist to achieve this. Selena was also famous for her fashion sense. She was referred to as the Tejano Madonna because of her clothing choice. But she didn't just wear fashionable clothes, she sold them through her boutiques as well. Selena needed help running her boutiques, so in early 1994 her family appointed Yolanda Saldivar as the manager of her boutiques. Saldivar would grow close to Selena in the coming months, and Selena would sign Saldivar as her registered agent after just 8 months of managing the boutiques. The boutique started to suffer in December 1994 when both stores staffing levels dropped. Employees claimed that Saldivar frequently let go of staff she didn't like. Though Selena heard these complaints often from store employees, she chose to ignore them, since she thought Saldivar wouldn't drastically affect her fashion business with her erratic judgments. The staff eventually focused on her father and started explaining Saldivar's actions to him. Her father, Quintanilla Jr., cautioned her, but she chose to ignore him because he had a history of mistrusting people. In January 1995, Quintanilla Jr. received calls from fans who complained that they had paid for membership in Selena's fan club, but had received nothing yet. He went on to investigate the matter and discovered that Saldivar had embezzled more than $30,000 via forged checks from both the fan club and the boutiques. Quintanilla confronted Saldivar with evidence and banned her from ever seeing the musician again, mainly because Saldivar still had the financial reports and documents necessary for tax preparation. Saldivar delayed handing over the documents, claiming that she had been sexually assaulted in Mexico. After some time, Selena met with Saldivar at Saldivar's motel room to demand the financial documentation. Saldivar pulled a gun out of her purse and pointed it at Selena. Saldivar shot Selena once in the lower right shoulder as she tried to get away, severing the subclavian artery and resulting in severe blood loss. Despite being seriously hurt, Selena sprinted to the lobby, leaving a 392-foot blood trail in her wake. Saldivar was still following her, calling her a bitch. Selena collapsed to the ground while the clerk called the police. Selena identified Saldivar and provided the number of the room in which she was shot before she collapsed. Saldivar tried to escape in her pickup truck but was spotted by police. After an over 9-hour standoff, she surrendered to the police and FBI. Selena was rushed to Corpus Christi Memorial Hospital and pronounced clinically brain dead because of a lack of neurological activity. The surgeons struggled to revive her, but all efforts were futile. She was pronounced dead after 50 minutes of surgery. A day after her death, a vigil was held for her, attracting 3,000 fans. Her family held an open casket viewing. Over 30,000 people passed by her casket. She was buried on April 3rd, 1995. Among the celebrities that attended her funeral were Roberto Polito, Bobby Polito, David Lee Garza, Navarra, Laura Canales, Elsa Garcia, La Mafia, Ram Herrera, Imogen Latina, and Pete Astudillo. Selena was 23 years old when she died, and 2 weeks away from her 24th birthday. Saldivar was sentenced to life imprisonment, with the possibility of parole after 30 years. Number 2. Our next picture shows a woman walking in front of a security guard. The guard is Stephen Michael Duxbury. Duxbury was an employee of Vital Security and Investigations. He had completed his 40-hour unarmed security training at the S2 Safety and Intelligence Institute and received his certificate of completion on April 2nd, 2015. By October 2015, he had worked at Uptown Place Apartments in Orlando for 5 months. He worked at the apartment 4 nights a week, with his shift ending at 6 a.m. In his 5 months of working at the apartment, the residents of the building had no complaints about Duxbury. But this would take a sharp turn on October 17th, 2015. At about 1:45 a.m., Sasha Samsudeen returned to her apartment from a bar after drinking with friends. According to her friend, Samsudeen left the bar at about 12:30 to return home. But when the friend contacted Samsudeen to verify she got home safely, there was no response. 2 of Samsudeen's friends visited her apartment later that day and repeatedly knocked on the door. They called the police when there was no answer. According to court documents, when police arrived at the residence, they found Samsudeen's body on her bed, covered with a comforter. The toilet seat was up, which the police thought was odd, seeing as the 27-year-old lived alone. The police got hold of surveillance footage from the apartment. They noticed that Samsudeen's brown bag and white slacks that she was wearing in the footage were all gone. Near her bed, a condom wrapper was found, and her bra and blouse were also ripped, and her underwear was missing. The arrest affidavit also stated that there was some discoloration on the bedding, which appeared to be caused by some sort of bleach product, possibly a cleaning product that included bleach. They also found fingerprints on her toilet. The police interviewed Duxbury. He stated that on the night of the murder, he tried to help Samsudeen because she couldn't remember the key code to get into her 3rd floor apartment. He also walked her to the garage because she thought her keys might have been in her vehicle. According to the police, surveillance video captured Duxbury and Samsudeen walking and laughing together at 2:25 a.m. Samsudeen appeared to be drunk in the video. At 6:36 a.m., Duxbury exited the 2nd floor of the building carrying 2 trash bags. He walked to the 2nd floor of the parking garage where his vehicle was parked and returned at 6:38 a.m. The police found this odd as his shift ended 40 minutes before he left. The police obtained a search warrant for Duxbury's home. There, they found a pair of shoes that matched a print found earlier in Samsudeen's apartment. His fingerprint also matched that found on his victim's toilet. Before this incident, Duxbury had no criminal record and no history of substance or alcohol abuse. Duxbury insisted that he was innocent, but based on the evidence against him, the jury found him guilty. He was found guilty of 1st-degree murder, burglary with assault, and attempted sexual violence involving physical force. For the first 2 convictions, Stephen received a life sentence. However, the burglary conviction resulted in an additional 15-year sentence. He is presently a prisoner at Graceville Correctional Facility in Florida. Before her death, Samsudeen worked for Pearson, an education company that provides services to teachers and students. Number 3. Our final picture shows 21-year-old Carolyn Bryant and 14-year-old Emmett Till. In 1955, Bryant was married to a man named Roy. She ran a small grocery store in Mississippi. Bryant complained that she had been offended by a black boy. Her offender was accused of flirting with, touching, and whistling at Bryant. The exact occurrence is disputed, but her offender was identified as Emmett Till. Till was born and raised in Chicago, but he opted to spend his summer vacation with relatives in Mississippi. Days after Till's interaction with Bryant, the teenager was forced out of his bed by Roy and his half-brother J.W. Millen, who were armed. The brothers drove off with him. They beat him and mutilated him. When they were done with him, they shot him in the head. The brothers sunk Till's corpse in the Tallahatchie River. Till's bloated and mutilated corpse was found 3 days later floating in the river. Being from a different place, Till was probably unaware of the unwritten codes of behavior for black males interacting with white women in the Jim Crow era South. Till's corpse was returned to Chicago. At his public funeral, his mother insisted on having an open casket viewing. Pictures of Till's mutilated body were published in several black-orientated newspapers and magazines. Till's death sent shockwaves that pushed the civil rights movement forward even decades after his death. On March 29, 2022, President Joe Biden signed the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act into law. The law makes lynching a federal crime in America. In September 1995, Roy and Millham were found not guilty of Till's murder. The jury was made up of only white people. Because of this ruling, the brothers enjoyed protection via double jeopardy. Double jeopardy prevents an accused person of facing trial again on the same charges, following an acquittal or conviction in the same jurisdiction. With this law as protection, in 1956, the brothers publicly admitted to the crime. They sold the story of how they tortured and murdered Till for $4,000. The stories behind these pictures reveal the dark side of human relationships. Sometimes our closest friends might not have our best interests at heart, and sometimes people in positions to protect us might turn around and hurt us. At other times, we might be hurt and denied justice for being different. Tell us what you feel about these different pictures and their backstories in the comment section.